Lời đầu tiên xin chào các độc giả đã đến với website rèn luyện kỹ năng.com. Khi tìm đến với website rèn luyện kỹ năng, chắc hẳn bạn đang mong muốn tìm cho mình một công cụ tốt nhất trong quá trình rèn luyện kỹ năng. Kỹ năng ở đây có thể là kỹ năng lãnh đạo, kỹ năng bán hàng, kỹ năng mềm, kỹ năng sống và rất nhiều các kỹ năng khác. Thông thường khi nghĩ đến việc rèn luyện các kỹ năng như chúng tôi đã đề cập ở trên, chúng ta thường hay nghĩ đến việc tìm mua cái đầu sách hoặc tham gia các chương trình hội thảo. Nhưng trong cuộc sống bận rộn của thế kỷ 21, thời gian và tiền bạc là hai thứ luôn bị giới hạn nhiều nhất. Với sự ra đời của website rèn luyện kỹ năng.com, chúng tôi mang đến cho bạn một công cụ tốt hơn trong việc rèn luyện kỹ năng của mình, đó chính là các DVD rèn luyện kỹ năng. Bạn sẽ không còn phải tốn quá nhiều thời gian để đọc sách hay tốn quá nhiều tài chính để tham gia các chương trình hội thảo. Chỉ cần bỏ DVD vào đầu máy, ngay lập tức bạn đã có thể tận hưởng những thước phim quý giá được chia sẻ từ các diễn giả nổi tiếng tại Việt Nam và trên thế giới. Website rèn luyện kỹ năng.com cung cấp đầy đủ cho bạn các DVD rèn luyện kỹ năng trên nhiều lĩnh vực. Tất cả các DVD rèn luyện kỹ năng của các diễn giả nước ngoài có tại website rèn luyện kỹ năng.com đều có phụ đề 100% hỗ trợ tối đa cho quý độc giả khi theo dõi. Rèn luyện kỹ năng.com cam kết chất lượng tất cả các DVD khi cung cấp cho quý khách hàng. Với hân hạnh được phục vụ cho rất nhiều các khách hàng trên cả nước. Chỉ cần click đặt hàng, trong vòng 1 đến 3 ngày, bạn đã có thể cầm sản phẩm trong tay. Rèn luyện kỹ năng hân hạnh được phục vụ quý khách.
How do you create an extraordinary quality of life today? For nearly 2 decades, this one man, Anthony Robbins, has searched for and found that answer. Now, using education to teach and entertainment to inspire, his systems for change empower millions around the world to improve their lives. Live by satellite, on audio tape across 42 nations, from Russia to Germany, England to China, his impact is global.
Oh, yeah,
Tony Robbins is sought out as a peak performance consultant and turnaround expert. He has met with world leaders like Nelson Mandela and consulted with Mikhail Gorbachev. He has counseled U.S. President Clinton and Princess Diana. Tony Robbins provides the competitive edge in sports. He strategized with America Cubed, which brought home the America's Cup. He helped the LA Kings reach the Stanley Cup Finals for the first time in 17 years. Then, when Andre Agassi was ranked 30th, he asked Tony Robbins to help improve his mental focus. Within 6 months, Agassi won the U.S. Open and became the #1 player in the world. Tony Robbins has worked with people from every walk of life, from the most challenged to the most successful. From people like Quincy Jones, Pamela Lee, Bill Farley, and executives from Fortune 500 companies. From the very famous to the very special. Now, Tony Robbins can be your personal coach with his 30-day personal power system. Learn how to master your emotions.
I'm happier today than I've ever been before in my life.
Your physical health.
I've maintained a 78-pound weight loss for 2 years.
Your relationships.
I'm so much in love.
Your finances.
From 0 in sales to $7 million in revenue.
And balance your life.
He's saying, here's the door, here's the key, go for it.
Personal Power is the #1 best-selling personal achievement system of all time, with over 25 million educational cassettes sold. Coming up, we'll travel to the big island of Hawaii, where each year more than 1,000 people from 42 nations attend his most exclusive event, Mastery University, to learn a tool you can use to immediately improve any area of your life. Welcome to Anthony Robbins' Life Management Systems. Now let's join Tony at his beautiful island resort in Fiji.
Hi, I'm Tony Robbins, and welcome to our Fijian island resort, Namale. It's a paradise here, and we're about to go on a journey together that'll include some time here in Fiji, some time in Hawaii at my Mastery University, and maybe a couple other places where I can share with you just a couple of tools that can help you increase the quality of your life. In just 45 minutes, we can't obviously give you a whole seminar because one little section is 3 or 4 hours, but I want to give you a little appetizer or two of some tools that can help you to, one, increase the quality of your communication. Because my personal belief is it doesn't matter what your goals are, your desires, ultimately your ability to achieve them and to be happy and to be fulfilled comes down to communication. And we all communicate well when we're in an unstressed state. When we get stressed, we start developing patterns that stop us. So I want to make sure that in order to have that quality of life where you can really manage your life effectively, you learn just a couple of tools in that area. Secondly, if we're going to manage our life and really learn life management systems, we have to know our priorities. So we're going to do a little goal-setting workshop. And you may have begun a part of that if you've already gone through the audio tapes of Personal Power, which I hope you've done, because that's ideal to go through before you go through this videotape. But if you haven't, then you can do it here with me on the videotape together. And I can tell you that this little process is something that's totally changed my life and an amazing number of other people. In fact, sometimes when you begin a process, you wonder, oh, is this really going to make any difference? You know, it seems so simple. But I can tell you that simple things, little things, aren't little at all if they are significant, if they're things that can shape our lives, if they can change the way we think, the way we believe, the way we act, and therefore what we experience in our lives. And that's what we're going to share with you on this tape. So again, you'll get a little peek of many different things, but I hope you'll take the time to not only watch passively, but to actively do some of the exercises. Because I can make a tape that just looks really fine, but instead I want to do something that you actually do. It's kind of like a live video workbook. So don't sit passively, do something, follow through, and I can promise you some amazing results, especially if you've really gone through Personal Power now for the 30 days. I can give you an idea. In the last week, I get to hear stories every day from people that have used Personal Power and made huge changes, or used portions of it even. In the last week, I had the privilege of visiting with a man who I met about a year ago, right after the President's State of the Union address. I kind of stayed in the background till a little after midnight, and I decided to walk up the steps of the Capitol and stand there where the President is inaugurated and just see what it felt like up there for the person who was really making a difference in our country. And in the middle of the night, I see this man running up these stairs saying, "Are you Anthony Robbins?" And I said, "Yes." And he reached up and he grabbed my hand and he shook it. And he said, "My name is Bobby Rush." He said, "You know something? I'm a congressman today because of you." I said, "You're kidding." And he said, "No." And he shared with me how he went through Personal Power and he changed some of his most limiting beliefs. And he said at the time, he said he knew it was valuable, but he had no idea the cumulative effect that it was going to happen for him, that he started developing a new momentum. He set some brand new goals. He made some tough decisions. He broke through what would stop him, and now he's doing something that he really loves. And by the way, he said, by the way, I was an ex-Black Panther. Talk about a little change. Simultaneously this last week, I had the privilege of spending some time that reminded me of my goal-setting workshop. This workshop you're going through, I did for myself for the first time years ago in Russia, back in 1982. And a couple days ago, I got a chance to see how the world has changed by visiting with the president of the past Soviet Union, Mr. Gorbachev, and flying with him on my private plane for 4 hours. Talk about chills, thinking about what can happen by using these tools. And we started talking about what changed the world. And the interesting thing that he shared with me is he said the breakthrough, what took us from a place where we had 70,000 nuclear missiles pointing at each other, where people are constantly worrying if we're going to die or not, someone's going to push a button, people are practicing duck and cover. What wiped that out, what ended the Cold War, was two people communicating. He said what broke it all down is I knew Americans were beasts and you knew we were horrible. He said, but Ronald Reagan and I developed a relationship. And I tried to dig. I said, when did it happen? He said, well, at our first meeting in Geneva. And I said, well, what really did that? What was the first trigger of trust? He said, well, you know, we were both on our side of the fence, you know, arguing for our side. And at one point, he said, Ronald Reagan reached out to me and he said, listen, this is not working. Let me start fresh. My name is Ron. And he said, he reached out to shake my hand and said, may I call you Mikhail? And when he told me the story, he had this huge grin on his face. And I began to listen for 4 hours to all the tools that basically you're going to learn on this tape about quality communication and how it changes our lives, our businesses, our relationships, and literally how it changes the world. I'll give you one final example. Now, all I'm trying to do is not to impress you, but to impress upon you that if you'll follow through and do this, some miracles can happen. And I'm giving you some famous names because hopefully they'll grab your attention and you'll think this is real. I tell you about John Smith, you might not listen. But I'll give you one more. Michael Crichton, the writer. I was speaking with him earlier this week as well, and he said, I want to tell you, one late night I was frustrated. People have been calling me saying, how's it going? Which he said really means, where's our work? Where's the screenplay? And he said, I just didn't have any momentum. And he said, I watched the show and I thought, what the heck, I'll try this. And he got the Personal Power tapes, he said, and he listened. He said, I did the whole thing, all the way through. And he said, I knew that was important. I got this brand new momentum and this new passion, this new energy. And he said, as a result of that, he said, I started writing again. And everybody said my idea was stupid, that it had been done before, it was a waste of time. He said, but I got the thing done. And in the goal-setting workshop you're about to do in a few minutes, He said, I designed what I was going to get out of that, even how much money I'd earn off this particular screenplay. And he said, I wrote down a number that was so unrealistic. It was a number that I'd never gotten before. And he said, you know what? I sold it for exactly the amount I said that I wanted. He said, so I really owe you some thanks. I said, well, what screenplay was it? What book was it? He said, Jurassic Park, the best-selling movie of all time. He said, I guess I owe you a little thanks. I said, well, thanks, Michael. The point is, this process you're going to do is simple. I'm not going to try and pump you up. I'm going to try and give you little pieces, but it's up to you to follow through. So will you do that? Please do. Don't sit passively. Take some major action. And again, know that we're just going to give you pieces of things. At the end, we'll wrap up together. Make sure, though, that you follow through on the 30-day tapes, because this is your bonus. Those tapes are the basis of this change. And I hope as a result of these changes, you'll want to take yourself to a brand new level. So let's begin. Let's go to our first venue, and let's find out what are some of the tools that can truly change our lives. Okay, good morning. Wow, good morning.